Hello everybody, I'm going to walk you through my trial and error that I'm going to do in painting a wooden tray in using a folk art. I'm going to go with a camel picture and I'm going to do a traditional Kerala mural on this tray, and I'm going to use the yellow carbon paper to actually put my rough sketch onto the wooden tray, and I'll be using acrylic colors, a wood you know stain to stain the maple tray into a sherry color. And I will be of course using my Gesso, Liquitex Gesso, on the base so that I can paint my camel on it. I will be walking you through each of these steps and the materials that I'm using for each of the steps during the video process. Thank you for joining me and watching this video. Let's get started. So here is an unfinished wooden tray that I got from Amazon. I will be using this tray for this project, and I'm going to draw my painting on the base of the tray. And this is a maple finish tray, and I don't quite like this shade of brown, so I'm going to stain the sides and the back a darker brown. So I'm going to not color use gesso on that, only the base. So I have stuck blue color tape around so that I don't get the gesso on the sides, and it remains on the middle. So now let's start painting. One thing to do before you start your doing your outline is that you use a small piece of tape to stick the yellow carbon paper on all four sides so that it doesn't move while you are sketching in place. Now let's place this here. That's kind of the center. So here's how it looks after we have the outline done using our yellow carbon paper. This is not looking great, but this is sufficient to give us an idea of where the image is going to be or how it's going to look. Now we can move on to using the scarlet red and doing the outline using the red paint, which is what I'm going to do next. Now I am working on the background. I am doing a couple of layers of red, and for Kerala mural background you go in a very pointed way with the brush, more like pointillism, and you do multiple layers of the same color so that you have that depth and the richness for that painting. So this is my second layer. I will go once more and then make it more darker, one or two more layers to make it more darker and deeper and richer, to get that nice tone that Kerala mural has. So that's what I'm doing right now. So now that I have completed the background a bit, I wanted to move on to the next step, and I will be using yellow ochre, sap green, and red, and maybe a bit of blue for the border, and fill in everything with one coating of these colors. So wherever there's going to be yellow ochre, I'm going to give yellow, green, and red, and this is without shading. So that's the next step I'll be working on. So now that I've blocked in all the colors, I'm going to now proceed to do the shading to bring out the beauty of Kerala mural. It's all in the shading, so I'll be starting to work on the shading part of it. So I was done with the shading and I was going to start the black outline when I realized that all Kerala mural has a kind of a cloud effect around it, just to make it stand out from the border, and then I had completely forgotten about that. So I am going to add that now and fill this area with my white gesso. Yeah, so this is my video on what not to do. So let's not forget the cloud so that your animal or your main subject stands out. Otherwise it kind of merges with the background, so it's always good to have that, and I'm trying to fix it. And yeah, the good news is there is always with acrylic you can use the gesso base and repaint over it. So you can it's good to have that fallback plan. Okay, now that I have drawn the cloud-like pattern that I want around the my main picture, I'm going to also do a quick outline so that I know where I need to put my gesso, so I don't make this mistake again. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm using a Sharpie to do this. Sharpie works beautifully on wooden base. It is waterproof. It's a perfect thickness. It gives me more dexterity than a brush, so I've been using Sharpie. That works just fine. Now I'm going to use my Liquitex gesso to see if I can add it in this gap and get the white background that I want around the main image. So I'm just going to take a bit of gesso and paint over the mistake I made. Yeah, and it works. So you can basically cover up any spot where you've made a mistake with your base gesso again, and then paint over it. So that's an advantage of acrylic, because acrylic doesn't activate once it dries. So it's almost like painting again over the base surface. So that's why I like working with acrylic. I make a lot of mistakes, so I like to have the flexibility of going back and fixing it. In that sense, I was finding both watercolor and gesso a bit limiting, but they do have their own advantages though. So now that I've fixed the mistake I made, I am now using a thin brush to basically draw the outline of in black inside the main image. And now I am adding a tinge of blue to this white area to give it some sort of a character, because I feel like, the white is a bit boring, so I'm, giving it a slight bluish shade. And you can see that it looks good and gives it some sort of depth. These are just, touching up and enhancements. Now that the painting is done, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape which is surrounding it to see how it looks without the tape. So I am going to now stain my wooden tray a darker color, because I prefer a darker color. So I first covered my painting with a thin polythene sheet or a cling wrap, or you can use either, and then put a tape around it so it stays there, so my painting doesn't get affected when I apply the stain. I'm using a regular wood finish stain that I bought from Home Depot, and I'm going to see how that's going to look. Looks like I might need multiple coats of stain. I am using a shade of American Cherry, so it's kind of a darker stain, so it will give me a darker finish, and that's what I'm going for. I might have to give multiple coats to get the darkest color that I need. Let's see how it goes. So trial and error here.
Despite my best efforts, some of the wood stains did seep into my painting, but I was able to fix it this time. So if I were to ever redo this, I would do the stain first and then my painting.